Welcome to the Practice Masterclass presented by Magentis. Continuing on our theme of growth, Dr. David Williams, General Manager of Avant, is here to share his insight on how to expand your practice's service offering or move into multi-site. David has hands-on experience working in the field, supporting clinical research and practical improvement of medical businesses. In addition to extensive business experience, David specialises in Parkinson's disease and movement disorders and founded Hoxton Medical Practice Management. He'll be helping you identify opportunities for growth, offering tips for successful expansion, and outlining opportunities to leverage technology to boost efficiency and patient care. If you've been considering how and when to expand your practice, this episode will be the perfect starting point. Over to you, David.
Hi, today we're going to talk about growing and expanding your practice. As a neurologist and practice owner, this is something that's dear to my heart and something that I've practiced over the last 15 years, starting off with a single doctor practice and now running a neurology practice with more than 40 practitioners and 30 or 40,000 patients per year. So as General Manager of Avant Practice Solutions, I'd like to take you through some tips and some guidance on how to think about growing your practice, identifying the right time to start growing your practice, and really getting to the end point of where you set your goals as a budding small business or medium business owner. Let's just get back to the start though, because when we talk about growing a practice, we can mean many different things. And I think it's really important for you as doctors and practice owners to be clear about what it is you want to grow. Growing may simply be increasing the number of patients you see as a single doctor. It may be increasing the numbers of doctors that work inside your practice. It may be growing the number of patients that can access your healthcare services, or it may be focused on growing profit or revenue. So being clear about what the outcomes of growth are pretty important to start off with. Growth for growth's sake is purposeless. And one of the themes I'm going to touch in over the next 12 or 13 minutes is really being purposeful about the growth that you're trying to target. It's going to increase your level of success. So the first step in understanding when to and how to grow your practice is to identify what it is you want to grow. And the strategies are the same for all of these, whether it is patients, doctors, revenue, or profit. Thinking about yourself as a small business owner as well as a doctor is complicated. You've been trained to be a doctor, probably haven't been trained to be a small business owner. And so the backbone of setting a pathway for changing or improving your business is to dial into that entrepreneurial spirit and also dial into the mechanics that help businesses succeed. In this sense, growing over time needs to be purposeful and predictable. There's no point making decisions off the cuff or spontaneously without being carefully considered and planned for future. So I really want you to dial into what a good business owner would do, not an overly confident doctor who hasn't been trained in business. That will help you avoid many of the mistakes that we all make as doctors in this industry. One of the typical things that we do is make ourselves too busy. It's really important if you are going to grow your business or grow your practice, really important to set aside time during the day that you can, or during the week, that you can focus on this. It doesn't happen by chance that your practice manager or staff know where you want to go and how the business is going to evolve over time. So you need to set aside time to work with the people that are going to help you achieve the growth. It sounds really simplistic, but this is probably the single biggest mistake that doctor owners make when thinking about evolving and growing their business. A lack of time means a lack of planning, means there's confused people and often wasted money. So setting aside time to grow your business is probably the first thing that you should do. The second thing is to understand the responsibilities in a growing business. While you will clearly understand your responsibilities for managing patients and working in a healthcare team in a hospital or out in the community, you may not be familiar with the responsibilities of being an employer and being a business owner or business director. These are legislated and very important responsibilities that have a whole lot of rules that exist whether you know about them or not. So it's important to do a bit of research to understand what your responsibilities are as a business owner employer and take on that responsibility as a business owner. It's reasonably simple to be guided through that process. There are many government services and information websites to help you understand those kind of things. Or it's possible to go straight to an expert like a practice management consultant, accountant, or lawyer to help navigate that space. But I urge you to think about what you don't know before you embark on any growth activity, and in particular if you're going to be employing and looking after other people's careers, be they administration staff or other doctors. And underpinning that whole pathway forward and strategy is a business plan. It's something that we haven't been taught in medical school, but it's so important when it comes to money on the table, investing in growth, investing in people and infrastructure that you hope is going to produce a bigger and better business down the track. A business plan takes into account not only the cost of growing and running a practice or the revenue that comes out of it, but also the strategies to help grow. It gives you a pathway and map to understand whether or not you're on track and whether or not you need to change emphasis as you go down the pathway towards starting. Simply for me, when I started my business, it was me as a doctor and one practice manager / secretary. What I did was do a spreadsheet that mapped out my expectations for the first 5 years. So I understood how many staff I needed, what size rooms I needed, what sort of infrastructure from telecommunications and IT I needed to be able to grow, to allow other doctors to grow in my practice. And either by luck or good planning, my plans and my spreadsheet were more or less spot on. But if they were off, if I was uncertain about, or if it was clear that I wasn't on track to grow, then I'd have to change emphasis, maybe do more marketing, maybe build newer rooms, maybe engage in more doctors or specialists to come and join the practice. Without a map, you don't really know where you're going. So business plan is that map. So let's think about what the growth-ready practice looks like. Let's say you have set aside time, you've accepted the responsibilities, and you've put into place a business plan. You will be ready to grow when you've got a few of these important elements in place. You have to have physical space to offer a service. So you as a business owner, you're going to be operating effectively a practice management business, branded as your practice. But you need space. It needs to be nice for doctors to work in, and people will want to work there. There's no point putting your customers, your future doctors that are going to join your practice, no point putting them in rooms that they're not comfortable with, or with telecommunication systems that don't work, or software that doesn't work properly. You need to make sure the amenity is good and the doctors really want to work there. You need to have enough staff to service the doctors. Now, this is going to be a bit of a burden as you're growing because you need to employ more staff to look after more doctors. But that investment should pan out to be good for you if you've got a good business plan. Do invest in good staff and good staffing systems so that all of your staff know their responsibilities. They know who the primary customers are, that is the doctors you're servicing, and they know how to manage patients. That does not happen by accident, and it doesn't happen just from simply looking on seek.com, finding someone who's previously worked as a secretary in the medical industry. You have to take responsibility and build out systems that support your staff to learn and be expert in your area of medicine. It's really important to focus on the IT systems and software that supports your business. The practice medical software that is going to hold your patient notes, your administration workflows, your documents and your financial reporting has to be scalable, has to be relevant to the type of medicine you do, and if you're going to grow over different sites, it has to be able to be reproducible on different sites or even in different territories. This is really important because it's very difficult to change medical software. So how do you choose for a software that's going to be relevant for your practice as it grows in 5 or 10 years' time? Think about the investment that's behind the software. Think about the development pathway and what's on the release list in the coming years. Talk to salespeople not about how many people use the software right now, but talk to the salespeople about what they're going to do for you as a user over the next 1, 3, 5 years to make sure that it's relevant for you. Really look for the things that are going to make it easier and more efficient to run a practice. So the sort of workflows that assist administration, that help doctors work faster through patients and automate workflows for you as a practitioner. This will give you really good insight into whether or not you've chosen the right software. Think about communications. A practice that's ready to grow will be one that has got good communications. What does that mean? It means that the referring doctors know who they're referring to, that there's telephone systems that are getting answered by knowledgeable people solving administration problems, and that you have some sort of voice in the community, whether that be through lay organisations or support groups, whether that's through the local hospital network or the local community groups, or whether that's through social media and advocacy that you and your colleagues might be doing in the area of specialisation that you work in, or in the community as well. Basically, building a brand is important. That's part of the communications. And while marketing doesn't have to be spent on social media or taking flyers to the local RSL club, it can be facilitated through your engagement from your research activities or your public hospital appointments or other sorts of activities that you do in the community as a healthcare giver in that community. For me, it was research, and it was working with the lay organisations to make sure that those people and those communities knew that I specialised in Parkinson's disease. And think about that for your area of specialisation or what might resonate with your community. If you have these things in place, then you're ready to grow. You've got engines that you can switch on or switch off to help you grow, and you've got the capacity to address the possibility of bringing new doctors and new patients into your clinic. Let's just flick back to the business plan. I guess most doctors' eyes glaze over when we think about business plans, but let's sort of inspire you about this. A business plan is a bit like a crystal ball. Again, you're going to have to use some time to sit down and imagine it and think about it, but it is a crystal ball where you can look into the future and have a guess what you mean by growth and commit to paper and a plan what is the growth you're aiming for. Do you want to work with 3 doctors in 4 years' time? Do you want to have 40% more patients in 2 years' time? Do you expect to open up 3 sites over the next 6 years? That's the sort of hope and crystal ball gazing you can commit to in a business plan. Once it's down on paper, then you can put it in front of other people to try and inspire them. Your lead secretary or practice manager will want to have that sort of inspiration to know what they are doing to help you grow your practice. How do you guess that? Well, you can make a stab in the dark, or you can work with experts, practice management consultants who work in this space every day and understand the dynamics of growing business are a really good resource to sit down and understand what that crystal ball can tell you about the future. Commit it to paper and make sure that you forecast your energy into the future that is going to be required to help grow. So running a practice of 2 doctors is going to take about half as much time as running a practice of 4 doctors. That doesn't mean you go and see double the number of patients. You have to set aside more time to help run your practice. Keeping your practice management team and your secretaries engaged and aligned with your business decisions so you can be successful. So set aside time, and the business plan allows you to know what investment of time you need in a year and several years' time. This document serves as a map for all of your team, and I'd encourage you to write it and commit to it in a way that the team knows exactly what you're planning to do. A business plan needs to be updated, and of course after 6 months or 12 months review, you're going to reset the business plan and set new goals for the coming year. Without that document, there is no map forward. So please think about working with experts to get round the business plan. Inherent in the business plan is a mission and vision statement. So you want to be able to really succinctly say, where am I taking this business? Why would someone want to come and work with me, either as an administration employee or as another doctor? I'm trying to make the biggest practice. I'm trying to make the best practice. I want to be the most successful orthopedic group. I want to make sure that I'm servicing knees, hips and elbows and small joints in my orthopedic practice. Whatever the goal is, it's important to have that as a simple statement that you can engage your employees and also associates with. This business plan is going to help you understand the investment you need to make in time, but also money. Now, none of us like to spend money since we've spent so many years in university without much pay. But if your business plan shows investing this amount of money will produce this benefit after several years, then you can have some confidence about what the value of that investment of time and money is. And that comes out in the budget that you can sit next to your accountant and make sure you've got your structures set correctly to be able to make the most of the opportunities that come. A business plan will also give your chief secretary or practice manager insights into how much they can spend, how much effort and time and money they can spend or are allowed to spend in the effort of growth. None of this happens by magic, so there will be investment required, and you don't want to make all of the decisions yourself. Delegating someone with a budget in front of them will be much easier for you and also empower your team as well. And then finally, are you meeting the number of patients that you forecast? If you don't have a number, you don't know what you're aiming for. If you don't have enough patients, then you need to pull some levers to make sure that you're attracting the right patients in the right way. And this is all captured in a business plan. In terms of important elements of success, there's some things that really unravel growth aspirations, even in the most enthusiastic practices. I can't stress enough how important it is to have good and comprehensive contracts in place. These are contracts for your leasing and real estate requirements, for your staff, modern contracts that relate to the current award situations, and then contracts that clearly outline the relationships with the doctors that you work with, either as business co-owners, partners, or people who are using the services you provide as a practice management provider. Without comprehensive documents, you're prone to trouble in the future. It is worth investing the time and money to get those documents clearly set out that relate to your circumstances for your business to help you with your growth plan. Business process documentation is really you and the practice manager sitting down and working out who's responsible for what. It's no point closing your eyes and hoping that all of the things around the practice are going to get done. I've come across many stories in working with practice management consulting clients where someone's turned a blind eye to the processes and in the end no one's done it. And that can sometimes cause many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of loss over time. Make sure that financial handling is properly documented. Make sure that your bookkeeping is done well, and make sure the responsibilities of the staff are well and clearly understood by everyone, including you and your practice manager. And when thinking about documenting those workflow processes, make sure they're scalable. What might work for just you may not work for 10 doctors down the track, so you need to be flexible and design processes and systems that can be scaled. Focus on your administration staff because they're running your practice. Train them, encourage them, expect them to leave after a couple of years. Be ready to train the next group of staff. Don't leave the transcription to chance. As a specialist practice, you will need to deliver letters and produce letters, and your doctors will thank you for supporting the systems that are integrated with your practice software. So look for efficient transcription services using AI Scribe or human transcribers, and also integrated correspondence workflows so that your secretaries aren't printing out letters and sticking stamps on envelopes. Really, these modern systems can save a lot of time and money. Invest early in bookkeeping and payroll. Payroll has got legislative requirements. Without doing that properly, then you are prone to fines every time you make a mistake. And it's really easy to outsource that. Don't leave that in the hands of your spouse or your practice manager. Keep that at arm's length. Think about the management of the business. If you're not expert on that, really work with a practice management consultant. And be careful about the rooms you choose. They are to choose for your business, not just for your own satisfaction. So careful of over-investing or under-investing. So ultimately, I'd like to encourage everyone to really set their own goals. But in setting those goals, look to achieve them with the help of experts. Unless you're expert and trained in business, it's a really good idea to sit down with someone who's done this before and work through a plan. Typically, the functions of a practice, the experts that help with the functions of a practice are practice management consultants. The resulting budgets and business plans then sit in front of your accountant to make sure your structures are correct and go forward with confidence around that. Be purposeful and predictable. Make sure you've documented for yourself and for the people around you to know what you're doing. And with those tips, I expect many of you will be well organised now to see what it's like to start growing a practice and the sort of things you need in place to be sure that you're on the right pathway. I've mentioned a couple of times practice management consultants. Practice management consultants are people that have experience in working in the business management of practices. They know what it takes to get a patient through the door. They know what it takes to train an administration team. With the insights of people that have worked in the industry, you don't have to guess what it's like to do and what energy it takes or how much it costs. Working with someone to help build a business plan is what I strongly recommend, and then put that information in front of your accountant. That's why we started up Avant Practice Solutions, to make sure these sort of services were available for doctors around Australia who are embarking on a growth pathway and really want to make the best out of their business. There's plenty of opportunity out there, and I'm really hopeful that you, my colleagues, don't make some of the mistakes I've seen other people make over time. And hopefully with these pieces of advice, you'll be able to have great success. Thanks very much.